Well, this is the epicentre of Redfern. Remember, we used to come over here and come through Redfern Park and watch the mighty Souths of the 50s train here and play. It was always crowded. Rugby league was the main agenda here because they used to win all the time. And nothing breeds success like success. And majority of people that come here to watch Souths play went home with a happy smile on their face.
Bobby, welcome home. This has always been home for you. Born just a few streets away in Quipos Street. 1944, just around the time the war ended. What was this area like?
No one had any money. You know, we all thought everyone was rich because we all had the same things, you know, which wasn't much. But our great thing was, as I got older, you know, got to about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, I started following the rugby league because, you know, there's always a big cheer of a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon in those days. And I found out it was the South Sydney Rabbitohs that were playing, so I finished up like a sticky beak of a little boy, you know, snuck over here with a couple of my mates and we saw them train and saw them play over the weekend, and we just got wrapped in the rugby league culture then.
What would happen on washing day? Bertie Purcell would put the jerseys on the line and it'd be a spectacle for the whole neighbourhood.
Well, it was a ritual every Sunday morning after they played mainly Saturdays, pardon me, and everyone would get there and his mum, wouldn't be Bernie, his mum used to put on the old clothes prop, she'd put the jumper and the socks and the shorts and get the clothes prop underneath the line and up they'd go, and we'd be there and be all in awe of it, watching it going up. It was like the Australian flag going up, and then it was Bernie's number 4 or 5, whatever it was back in those days, and his shorts and his socks, and up they'd go in the sky, and everyone was just in awe of it all. And I remember we'd all thinking the same thing, oh, geez, I hope I can play for South and get my clothes put up on the clothesline like that and have all the kids watch it in the back lanes. And yeah, it was great memories. And luckily enough, I was able to follow in their footsteps.
Always a Rabbitoh?
Yeah, I followed St George a little bit when South went off the boil there after 1955, but I still followed the Rabbits. But they were doing it tough up until the 60s when they started. We got some good kids coming out of the juniors, and we were able to put together a good side that finished up playing in the grand final 2 or 3 years later in '65 when we broke the record out of here.
The largest crowd in Australia's rugby league history at the Sydney Cricket Ground for the clash between St George and South Sydney. They pack every vantage point while a colourful presentation adds to the exciting atmosphere.
What was that day like? It must have felt like a coliseum.
Well, I was lucky to get there. I don't know if you heard the story, but I lived on the other side of Redfern then when Judy and I got married, and my game plan of us when we played the cricket round was to leave home about 1 o'clock and be a 10-minute drive along Cleveland Street, into the car park, into the dressing room, get ready, away I go. Well, I tried to do the same thing in the grand final, so I knew I was very nervous, first grand final, and we left at 1 o'clock. Me and my father-in-law, Judy and her mum, took off early to get seats in the grandstand. They left about 10 o'clock and started going along Cleveland Street and didn't realise how many people were coming along that street. And we sort of crept along, and I'm starting to panic, and about 20 to 3, I'm at the Bat and Ball Hotel, and they're putting cars into this side of where the Sydney Boys High School is. They're putting them in there, and they're putting them on the other side where the Free Hills are, where the what's the name ground is there, the cricket pitches are. They're putting him in there, and I said to the policeman on duty, I'm playing, can you do something about my car? He said, park it straight there. And I took off, and unbeknownst to me, all these people were walking this way. And they didn't know who I was, they just saw me running, and I had my back over my shoulder, my bag over my shoulder, and they're saying, oh, you won't get in, thinking I was going to go and watch them play. And then by the time I got to the Anzac Parade, I looked over and there was just a mass of people just getting turned away. So I fought my way through them. As I said, I got there at 20 to 3, and Bernie Purcell, the coach, was at the gate and said, where in the F&L have you been? And I said, it's a long story, and went in and got ready, and it wasn't a good preparation for a grand final in front of 100,000 people, but, you know, we beat them 3 times that year, and we thought it was that, you know, I think the crowd turned up because they thought that the dynasty was over. We only got beat 12-8, but we're never in the game. There was 2 St George we found out that year. There was one that played during the year, And there's one that played in grand finals, and we had to learn then that when you play grand finals, it's a different game. You've got to up the ante.
1967, St George are in their 11-game winning streak. I mean, Canterbury Bankstown are flying at that point as well. Did you guys give yourselves a shot that season?
I remember that year I was out there in the final when Canterbury knocked them over, and it was the whole ground just went numb because everyone's thinking, oh, well, they've stopped the flow of the great St George team. And that's enough. We were all happy because we beat them just the week before to get to the grand final. And we thought, oh, well, Canterbury, we beat them during the year and they beat us once. So we thought we'd go all right against them. And it was raining and we're getting beat there for a while. And then a bit of magic happened just before half-time.
Flipping it out across there to Hicks, out to Ryan. Ryan draws the man, gets it away beautifully there to Greaves. Greaves back inside, puts it away to Brown and an intercept by McCarthy. McCarthy going to the line, he's chased by everybody, they won't gather him in. McCarthy will score underneath the post. Oh, what a beauty. Oh, McCarthy has scored underneath the post for South Sydney.
What about the lofty pass?
But I thought they'd pick me up.
Could you hear him chasing?
I could hear them chasing.
Yeah.
Like they had Johnny Greaves and Bobby Hagan were both test centres, and they had fast wingers. And I thought, well, they round me up real quick, and I was looking to see where my wingers were, but I took off and left everyone standing.
Go yourself, Bob. Back yourself
and you wouldn't believe, I got over the 22-metre line and my hamstring went off. And I had that much adrenaline in me. I got over the line, scored, got up, and started walking back. And by the time I got up to where I was, my legs all stiff as anything. But it was right on half-time. And I said to Johnny Sattler, I've got to go off, mate. I tore my hamstring. He said, oh, you'll be right. You know, typical Sats. And I said, no, I can't. So I went in at half-time and I said to Clive, I'm gone. I've torn my hamstring. I could hardly walk. He said, you can't. He said, you can't. You've got to stay out there. I said, I've done my hamstring. He said, Cleary's off.
Second rower McCarthy's power and speed tests the Sea Eagle's tenacity as he spearheads many raids to place Souths in attacking positions. As Manly's defence holds tight, McCarthy cuts out two men with a long pass to Coote. Stepping inside McDonald and Morgan, he penetrates until taken by the bandaged Wiley. Interchanging passes, South's forwards endeavour to spread the defence. Backing up Stevens, Sattler is closed upon by McDonald and Hamilton.
Wasn't that with Johnny when he broke his jaw and he tried to keep it in place?
Yeah, he tried to push it. Well, he broke it there, and he broke it there, and he broke it there. And when he spoke, he had the first floor of teeth there, and he had the bottom set of teeth there. He had the first floor and the bottom floor.
Manly's premiership hopes are fading. Souths win 23-12 to take their 19th premiership.
And you see after the game, you see him smiling, and the same thing, the teeth are up there and that lay down there, and he's got a smile on his face. How he endured that pain, I mean...
Because he wanted to play for the Kangaroos? Didn't want to tell anyone?
Well, he thought he was going to get... Well, he would have been captain that night. He'd gone out. But he'd gone in just where over here, the cricket ground. The end dressing room had a bath in it. I don't know if it's still there or not. And you had showers down the first one, and you had showers up there, but they had a little bath right over in the corner. And we were in that dressing room, and Johnny said to Johnny Martin, who was one of our committeemen, get in there and put the bath on for me, because he'll get in there and hide from the journos. In those days, the journos could come in after the game, and they'd talk, how you going, and blah, blah, blah. And they all come rushing into this dressing room, and they're saying, oh, Sats broke his jaw, Sats broke his jaw. And we're saying, what are you talking about? And we're squirting champagne at each other.
The smother was on.
Yeah. Anyway, they're over by the door and saying to Sats, you all right there, John? You all right? And he's going, yeah, I'll be out in a minute, I'll be out in a minute. Anyway, Clive came over and said to him, Sats, he said, these blokes got to file their stories by 6 o'clock for tomorrow's papers. He said, you better come out. And he said, I'll be out in a minute. And then we saw the door open, and he went to go like that, and it all fell apart again. And I said to Sats later on, when he got fixed up, I said, what was you doing in the bath? He said, I was pushing it all back in again. He said, it kept on coming out, so I pushed it all in. I thought it was good. Then when I got up and went to say hello, it all fell apart again.
It's just remarkable, the lengths and the extremes
he got back straight after he went back out there, because he said, I'm going out. We said, you can't, Sats. He said, I'm going out. Don't worry about it. Just give me the ball. So first time they kicked off to us, we give the ball, went straight to him, and Pogo Morgan's gone crash with a terrific coat hanger, straight around the face. And we all thought, well, that's the end of him. We'll get, you know. Then he got up and just laughed and got back into play again. We thought, yeah. But we always knew he was tough. I mean, when he first come down, he worked out at, East Gardens out there, shopping centre. That used to be the GM Holden. That's where they made all the Holdens for New South Wales. And we're playing Parramatta up at the old Cumberland Oval, and I was walked in to go in He's got his arm in plaster. And I said, what have you done? He said, I dropped the frigging engine on my hand yesterday, and he said, I broke my hand. I said, how long are you out for? He said, oh, I'm playing. I said, you can't play? He said, yeah, I'll be right. So I've just gone in the dressing room, and I saw Mike Cleary there, and I said, you seen Sats? He said, yeah, what's he doing? I said, he's going to play. He said, oh, we'll see what happens. And he come in there, and there used to be, in those days, there was no doctors, but we had a box. And in the box was bandages and smelling salts and scissors and all this type of stuff to patch people up. And he come in, got the box, got a big pair of scissors out, started cutting through the plaster, went out and played. You know, he was whacking blokes and getting whacked back. And when the game was over, I said, you all right? He said, yeah. I said, what are you going to do with your hand? He said, I'll go back to hospital, South and Hospital, and get it plastered up again. So we knew then he was either mad or tough, or a bit of both. Well, this is where I grew up when I was a youngster, and it looks much better than it did than back in the day. Down the end down there, we had the playground where we used to learn how to tackle on the asphalt. We're all the same. We all thought we were rich. We wore the same clothes every day, same clothes at school. When I first started playing with Chelsea United in the football, the football jump I used to wear everywhere. It was like a badge of honour, and I wore that everywhere I went. Oh, it's a good grounding for everyone. We learn how to grow up tough on the streets and all that type of stuff. And you know, we all survived it. I mean, I'm getting up towards 79 now, so it's been good. It was good to me growing up, and hopefully we'll keep on going.
Some of the tours would have been fun in those days.
Oh, they were great. Yeah,
How
great.
wild did it get? There was the Battle of Hitley. What happened? Where did that have its flashpoint?
Well, they beat us in the Ashes out here. They were a pretty good side, so we knew we had to put them off their game to try and stop them. They were a very good football team. And because they won the Ashes, they were very sky-high in confidence. One of our front rowers, John O'Neill, loved a bit of a stoush. And I remember it was Harry Barth, our coach. He was saying that we've got to put them off their game. He said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this bloke down that I played with in Warrington, and he'll show us what we've got to do, because to get the ball off their hooker. So he's come down, he said, OK, the first thing we've got to do is get that Mercura comb, you know, that red hot stuff that burns you and fixes up your sores and all that. He said, you put in your hair, and headbutt the hooker and blind him, and then they won't win the ball from there. And we said, OK, and I said, oh, Ronnie Coote and Bobby Fulton, and we said, you can't do that. We're not going to blind the bloke.
That is dastardly. Even by rugby league standards, that's bad.
He said, you can't do that. And Harry said, well, who's going to win the ball? He said, frick. We said, we've done it over here. I said, mate, you can't do that. There's got to be other ways. Anyway, so we said, well, just go back to the fair nickel way, you know. So as the scrum was packed and John O'Neill was coming in with his forearm and Bob O'Reilly was coming in and he was getting the bloke between the eyes, and then every scrum was a brawl. But after the game was over, we're all sitting around drinking together. What
was your best tour?
Oh, they're all good. France was good in World Cup in 1972. We got beat on a countback. That was funny there. Harry Barth starved Arthur. He used to put Arthur on this consommé diet, you know, like a soup with a little bit of spray or something.
Broth,
whatever, yeah. And Arthur used to sneak out of a night time and get a jambon roll. There's, you know, those carts in the street where they used to sell the rolls with the cheese and the ham on it. I remember we played the World. Can I just interrupt a sec? There's 1970 Ashes. They put us out at Cronulla in a pub out there, and to keep us away from the city, so we couldn't sneak out and get on the drink and whatever. So they put us out there and isolated us. And the night before the game, Arthur come in, and we're playing Boom Bozo and Chang and what have been John O'Neill. We're playing euchre, and Beatson come in, and we said, "You right, Arthur?" He said, "I'm starving." And you could hear his belly roaring. It was like the thunder outside. We said, well, "What's the matter?" He said, "Oh, I'm starving." I said, "Well, go downstairs in the kitchen and get something." He said, "I've been down there." He said, they had this big industrial fridge and they had big bars over it with locks on it. He said, they got it all locked up. And we finished up going down there and we looked up and there it was, a beautiful big industrial fridge that had these two big bars straight across it. And I looked at Arthur and I said, "I think you're in a bit of trouble, mate." And Elwood Walters come in and said, "What are you doing?" And Elwood was a handyman, you know. And he said, "Oh, we're trying to work out how to open this fridge." I said, "Look at the sides of the bars on it." Alwyn said, everyone get a knife out of the thing. So we got a knife out, we used it like a screwdriver. Like, I wasn't that smart to think of that. So we all got a screwdriver and we pulled the bars off. Then we opened the big doors up and there was Arthur. It was like Christmas. There was these big hams and chickens and eggs. He was making a 10-egg omelette and he's cutting all the ham up. And when we finished it all, we put it all back up there together and put the bars back on, screwed all the things back on as though nothing happened. He loved food. He just loved it. When you're having something to eat, he'd be saying, Yvonne, don't you want your potatoes? And you go, oh, Arthur, hang on, I haven't got around there yet. And he'd say, don't you want your peas? Don't you want your beans? You're going to finish that meat off? You want that sausage over there? Oh. Like, he was just watching everyone's food as he was eating.
He'd be lucky if he got a spud off my plate, I tell you. For you, with your playing career, when did you know it was time to give up and was moving into coaching a natural progression for you?
I was going to retire after South let me go, and I got a phone call off Peter Moore. And I was down Giles's, and he said, I'll come down to Giles and see you. I said, what for? He said, oh, I just want to talk to you. Anyway, I knew Peter, but didn't know much about him. Anyway, he said, I'll come to buy you. I said, me? And he said, yeah. He said, I want you to come over there. I've got all these young kids coming through, all the Hugheses and these Mortimers. And I said, mate, I couldn't play against South. He said, oh, well, there's an offer there for you. So I said to South, you want to do anything about that? They said, no, we don't think you're as good as you used to be. I said, oh, that's okay. So I was quite retentive. Anyway, Peter kept driving me mad. And then all of a sudden I said, OK, I'll come to there. And then when South found out, they said, oh, we'll come around and match the offer. I said, Charlie, you've been playing... Charlie, this is Charlie Gibson. I said, you've been playing on my loyalty for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I said, no, I'm going to Canterbury. So I had 2 years in. I thought that'd be it. And I was down Giles's again. I got a phone call. Jack Gibson rang me up and said, I'm the new coach at South. I want you back here. I said, Jack, I'm nearly 35 or something. I've had enough. He said, no, you'll be all right. I want to run and forward. So he's got me out of training, and anyway, I come back and I ripped my shoulder and finished up. Then I knew it was all over. And I was up in Queensland. I called into a Melbourne hotel in Brisbane. I called in there to see Gary Bork, and all the South blokes were there, all on the drink. And I said, what's happened here? He said, oh, these blokes got beat yesterday in the grand final, 26-0 by Valleys. And Gary said, oh, the President wants to meet you. A bloke called Tony Tester, and he came and he said, can you coach? And I said, oh, I don't know, mate. I said, he said, oh, how much do you want? I said, mate, I don't make deals in pubs. And the next morning I got a phone call from this Tony Tester, and he said, we'll give you a 3-year deal to coach South up here for so much. And I said, oh, it sounds all right. I said, but I wouldn't come up here for 3 years. I said, I want 4 years. And he said, OK, you got 4 years. They hadn't won a premiership in any grade since 1952. And in the 4 years I was there, we won 11 premierships in all grades.
What about a young Mal Meninga?
Well, Mal
was he always a star?
No, well, oh, he's always a star. Yeah, well, because he's so big and he was fast. But I remember the first time I gave him a bit of a spray, he sunk down a bit, and I thought, well, Mel's a bloke you can't say in front of people. Like, he's introverted. He was just so great. You know, a great player up there. He was always going to make it. I mean, I said to Terry Parker when Parker was in charge of South, come and get this bloke Mel Meninga, too lazy. Come and get this Mark Graham. They beat us in the grand final up there. Oh, he's just another Kiwi. What's this back? Oh, I'll give him all these names. Tony Curry played for Australia. All these, and they just didn't. They thought, you know, it's just a second-grade comp. They've beaten New South Wales every year in State of Origin, and what they'll get was they'll get myself. I was up there. Frank Stanton was up there. Tommy Donix was there. Arthur Beecham was there. So they're getting all this training that we'd done down here, which has always let them down in the past. Like when I played against Queensland, they were always tough for the first 60 minutes. You know, you were busted all over the place, but you'd beat them in the last 20. Because there was no TV back then, people would pick up the paper and go, oh, New South Wales thrashed Queensland again. It was only our fitness that's got to say them at the end.
The professionalism just wasn't there, yeah.
Well, I reckon we put that into them. Then you had your Wallies coming through and your Mels and your G Miles. And with this little bit of professionalism, I mean, I coached Wally in the Brisbane side. They never beat Sydney ever. We won the Panasonic Cup.
What was the King like to coach back then?
He was good. He was good. Wally was just, well, Wally's Wally. I remember one day they were training at Davies Park and there was a 44-gallon drum over on where they used to burn the rubbish over on the other side of the halfway line. And I said to Wally, we were playing Norseman. I said, mate, can't afford to give these sides too much ball. I said, because they're much fitter than us. And he said, I said, like, for instance, I said, if you're going to kick for the touch, point someone out. and just aim for that. I said, like, for instance, that 44-gallon drum over there was about 50 metres away. I said, look, just aim for that and try and hit it there. And he got the ball and he went, bang. You know what happened, don't you?
He hit it?
Went straight in the thing. He looked at me, he said, want me to do it again? I said, no, you got the message.
So that's very Wally. That's very Wally.
I'm coaching him. You know what I mean? Like,
Unbelievable.
I was there with Mel Meninga, G. Miles. I mean, I didn't have to coach them. I actually made sure they were all on the same sheet of music every game.